We have another really incredible game, and this one is Lawyer Up. And this plays 1 to 2 players and takes about 60 to 75 minutes to play. And this is a game where players will be going head to head, the defendant against the prosecution, calling witnesses to the stand, providing evidence, and trying to prove to the judge and jury whether or not the defendant is guilty or innocent. At the start of the game, players can choose the case that they want to play, with each case having a different type of crime, as well as some different mechanisms and a completely different deck of cards for players to explore. And within each case, there's actually 4 different strategy cards, which can further change the way that you experience that specific case. This will also provide the setup instructions and provide the lose and win conditions for each of the players, which usually has to do with the jury and the judge. After players choose a case and the strategy card that they want to play for that case, they can then choose a judge, and there's a few different judges that players can choose, with each of them changing the game in a little bit of a different way, adding a lot of different permutations and variety from game to game. But then there's also an unbiased neutral judge that players can use if they want to have more of a neutral type of game. The judge gets put in the middle of the board with the key witnesses around that judge. Players will take all the jury cards and put them in 2 rows, and players will be trying to move the tokens on those jury cards to one side or the other as they try to move those jurors to their side of the case. Both players start the game with a base deck of cards that they always use no matter which case was selected. Then they'll be taking the case cards, shuffling them, and then drawing 3 each, putting 1 in their deck, 1 in their opponent's deck, and then 1 in a shared deck that will be, for the most part, excluded from the game, but there are ways that you can take cards from that deck and bring them back into the game. Players just continually do this until the entire deck of case cards has been distributed, and then they're ready to start the game. At this point in the game, players will be taking turns calling up different witnesses to the stands and asking them questions. And each of the witnesses will have a starting bias towards either the prosecution or the defendant, or they can either have a neutral bias where they aren't one way or the other, and this will add a little bit of influence towards one player or the other, or both. Each of the witnesses will also have a set of icons on them, and then players will be alternating turns, adding more cards to the witness by matching the different icons from the cards that they have to the cards on the witness card, which will add more influence to that witness, winning that witness to their side. Some of the cards can have different abilities that get activated when you play the card, but they can also have different victory abilities that get activated if you have the most influence once both players have passed. But this will happen back and forth while players try to match icons with the card that they played before, and this will continue until one of the players passes, and then the other player can continue playing cards, or they can also pass at any point. And then once both players have passed, the person with the most influence for that witness is going to win the round. That allows the player to perform both the victory ability on the witness's card, as well as the card that they played last in their stack. And the neat thing here is that the player with the most influence subtracts the amount of influence the other player earned, and then they'll be able to spend the difference on the juror cards to move that token up towards their side of the card. Players will also have a number of action tokens that they can spend throughout the game. They can use their sidebar token to draw another card, or they can use one of their 3 objection tokens to discard a card that the other player played. You don't want to use these too quickly though, because the objection tokens are one-time use and you only get 3 for the entire game. And this cycle continues until the end of the game, and the player that did better on the win condition that was outlined on the strategy card is going to win the game, usually associated in one form or another with the jurors. And this campaign is going to be offering all the content from the original game, but it's also going to be introducing a few different new cases that players can explore. First, we have the spicy divorce case between a billionaire CEO and a celebrity, and then we have the private eye case, which features a Hollywood noir setting and a framed murder. And then finally, there's the heist case, where a team of thieves and swindlers have taken a casino for all it's worth. Each of these cases will also offer some unique mechanisms that you can't find in any other areas of the game, giving each one of them a very unique flavor. Definitely an interesting game here. This one looks like a ton of fun. And if you want to check it out and follow along to get yourself a $5 discount, you can check it out in the description below.